While most people were spending this weekend with family, enjoying the holiday, Donald Trump and the people around him were busy making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Today, we have not one, not two, but four stories that all connect together. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to be shaking your head. So let's start with Trump's White House faith advisor, Paula White Cain. If you don't know who she is, she's the woman who stood in the White House and compared Trump to Jesus Christ. Yes, seriously, I am not joking. She said, and I'm paraphrasing here exactly, that just like Jesus rose on the third day and defeated evil, Trump rose up and was victorious too. Now, on Easter Sunday of all days, that kind of talk is going to raise some eyebrows. But here's where it gets funny. Paula White went on Fox News and tried to tell everyone what a deeply religious man Donald Trump really is. She said, and this is the part the whole internet is laughing at, that Trump went to church, Saturday school and Sunday school, sometimes 3 times a week as a child. Now, let's do the math here. Saturday school, Sunday school, and church. That's already 3 things on a weekend, which is a complete disaster and big lies. One attorney posted online saying, "That math ain't math." A journalist joked that maybe his parents just couldn't stand having him home. Someone else asked sarcastically, was he also raised in a log cabin he built himself? Look, if you're trying to make someone look more religious, maybe double-check your numbers before going on national television. And here's the bigger picture. This is the same Donald Trump who once said, when asked about going to church, that he drinks his little wine and eats his little cracker, and that feels like asking for forgiveness to him. That is his level of religiousness. This is also the man who famously held up a Bible in front of a church for a photo. Can you imagine? Just for a photo? So the idea that he was sprinting to church 3 times a week as a kid, the people of America didn't buy it. Now here's where things get really serious. On Easter Sunday morning, while families were sitting down for breakfast and kids were finding Easter eggs, Donald Trump posted a message threatening Iran. Not a diplomatic and carefully worded statement, but a raw, angry post, using language that CNN anchor Jake Tapper had to read on air with a warning to parents. Trump gave Iran barely a day to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or, in his words, face hell. He called Iranian leaders crazy and used language I'm not going to repeat here, but it was the kind of language most people would get fired for using at work. Now here's the serious part that we need to talk about. Legal experts and international law scholars have pointed out that threatening to destroy civilian power infrastructure, like power plants, could actually be considered a war crime under international law. That's not a political opinion. That's what the law says. So, on Easter Sunday, a day of peace, renewal, and faith, the President of the United States was posting war threats using words you'd blush to say in front of your grandmother. And his faith advisor was on TV the same weekend comparing him to Jesus. I think this administration gone completely mad. Okay, let's shift gears because this next story is almost too much to believe. You may have heard that Trump ordered the demolition of the historic East Wing of the White House back in October 2025 to build a massive ballroom, a personal ballroom, in the White House. A federal judge stepped in and said, "Hold on, the president cannot just tear down a historic part of the White House without approval from Congress." Construction is now frozen. The East Wing is already demolished and sitting as a construction site. So why does this matter today? Because Don Jr., Trump's eldest son, is apparently already planning to use this ballroom that doesn't exist yet for his wedding. Don Jr. and his fiancée are reportedly considering a White House wedding. But here's the problem. The ballroom they want wasn't going to be finished until late 2028 or early 2029. And right now, it's stuck in court. So we have a situation where the historic East Wing of the White House has been torn down, construction is legally blocked, taxpayers are left with a half-demolished building, and the family's response is to start planning the wedding guest list anyway. There have been White House weddings before. President Biden's granddaughter was married on the South Lawn in 2022. Other presidents' daughters have been married there too. So technically, Don Jr. could still have a wedding at the White House, just not in the ballroom his father promised to build. But the whole story really does tell you something about how this family operates. They want what they want. They want it now, and they don't always worry too much about the rules standing in the way. And finally, let's talk about what's happening internationally, because this story is one that should concern everyone, no matter which side of the political aisle you're on. A report from the New York Times revealed that the Trump administration has been actively pursuing deals with some of the world's most brutal governments. We're talking about countries where torture is documented, where people disappear, where courts don't function fairly. Countries like the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, and South Sudan. So, what kind of deals he is going to make? The US is reportedly offering things like eased visa restrictions, tariff relief, and help with public health funding. And in exchange for those countries accepting deported migrants from the United States. Let me be clear about what that means. People are being deported to countries they may have no connection to, where governments have been linked to torture and human rights abuses. And the Trump administration is calling this policy America First in Africa. This comes alongside other stories we've been covering. Trump accepting a $400 million private jet as a gift from a Middle Eastern country that hosts Hamas and the Taliban. The Trump Organization planning a Trump Tower in Saudi Arabia, building a golf resort in Vietnam while Vietnam seeks tariff relief, ignoring what's called the Emoluments Clause, which is basically the constitutional rule that says a president can't personally profit from foreign governments. When you add all of this together, a very clear picture forms, and that picture is not America First. It looks a lot more like Trump's wallet first.